Hello, Angie Talks family. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. This is Angie, your 21st century virtual nurse. Call me 21st century virtual nurse and let me simply respond, hello, how you doing? I hope everybody is doing well. Let's talk. What we're going to talk about emotional aid. Emotional aid. Is your heart broken? Don't feel alone. You are not alone. We can talk about it and help heal the emotional wound. So, being humans, we are susceptible to cuts, sprains, bruises, and other mild injuries. As a result, most homes have are equipped with some kind of first aid kits, especially if you have kids at home. They have cuts, sprains, bruises from playing. So we have most homes have first aid kits at home and painkillers as well, right? So we know that the small injuries we regularly sustain needs immediate attention, and we've been taught exactly how to tend to them. So we know when we have cut, we clean it and then put something on it, some topical medication. Or if we are having headache or something, we take medication. But what about emotional injuries? The ones we just talk about are physical injuries. But if you have emotional injuries, what are you going to do about it? So the emotional injuries are very it's not easy to really heal from emotional wounds, but we can still, with help and counseling, we can heal from emotional wounds. So, emotional injuries like rejection, failure, or low self esteem, if left untreated, they can lead to bigger psychological problems. But we've never been taught which emotional band aids or painkillers to use when it comes to emotional injuries. We haven't been taught how to heal, unlike the physical ones that we take medications and clean the wounds and stuff like that. So they drive into the emotional hurt we all experience and provide ways to treat them and ensure they don't do more harm than necessary. So that's what we're going to dive into it. So we will talk about the right way to apologize, how to respond to the F word, and what the flu and self esteem have in common. What I'm talking about, I took the inspiration from Guy Winch. He is the author of the book Emotional Aid, First Aid. Emotional First Aid is the book. So, do you remember the first time you were rejected? Perhaps you weren't picked for a team at school or didn't get invited to a party. Whatever your first experience of rejection was, one thing's for sure, it wasn't your last. Your first rejection wasn't your last. Rejection happens throughout life. For instance, the kid who didn't pick you for her team becomes a stranger who ignores your polite hello, or a company that won't hire you. But even though it's so common, rejection still hurts. Rejection hurts. Hearing no or feeling left out triggers emotional pain and anger and affects our self-esteem and sense of belonging. When you get rejected, it dims your self-image. It can makes you angry, and then you feel you don't belong. And just like a scratch can lead to an infection if not treated, minor rejections can lead to more serious psychological issues. Sometimes in my profession and other professions like counseling, psychologists, they see a lot of behavioral issues, people who come to them with behavioral issues. When they dive deep into their history, the root cause of the behavior, they find out that they experience some kind of rejection as they were growing up, and they didn't have they didn't heal from it, or they didn't get anybody to talk them out of it. So it's have a really psychological impact on them, effect on them. But even though it's so common, rejection still hurts, right? So hearing no makes you feel angry, it dims your self-esteem and makes you feel like you don't belong. To prevent minor rejections from doing serious harm to you in the future, you have to reaffirm yourself. Reaffirm yourself. So, one of the effects of rejection is that it dents your self esteem. In an attempt to understand why you were rejected, it's easy to fall into the trap of self criticism and believe that you are somehow lacking. To avoid this, it's important to remind yourself of your own positive traits and boost your sense of worth, of self worth. So rather than blaming yourself, just reassure yourself or reaffirm yourself that whoever rejected you didn't reject you because you are not worth nothing. It's just them, not you. So don't let the rejection affect you psychologically in the future. Start by throwing counter argument at any negative thought that pop up. Make sure that your counterpoint is not only kinder but also relevant to the situation. So rather than thinking you messed up a job interview, tell yourself that the company just needed someone with a very specific background. This will help you from not blaming yourself or becoming believing that you're not worth it. It won't dent your self-image. If you see in you revert the negative to the positive. For instance, if I'm going for a job interview and I'm not picked, somebody is picked over me, rather than blaming myself that I'm not worth it, I can tell myself, well, it's not this is not meant for me. I can go another way and look for something else to do, right? So you will it will prevent you from becoming self-critical, being critical on yourself. Once you've wrestled with your negative thought, give your self worth a boost by remembering your valuable traits. We all have valuable traits, so try to recollect your valuable traits. Think of 5 positive traits that are relevant to the rejection. For instance, if you don't get the dream job that you interviewed for, list 5 qualities that make you a great employee. Then write a few short paragraphs explaining why each trait matters to you, the role it plays in your life, and why it's crucial to your self image. For let's say if I go for a job interview and I'm not taken, I would, rather than feeling sad and blaming myself, I would have to write the 5 positive things about me. I am very conscientious with my duty, with my job, so I will write something about that. I'm very time conscious, like my time management skills is on point. That's another asset. I'm very I'm a good team lead player. That's also another asset. My critical thinking skills is on point. That's another asset. And I am also a good communicator or a good I'm also a good communicator. That's an asset. So I will just write down all these traits, positive traits that about me that will help me, boost my self-image, right? Rather than blaming myself. So if you are turned off or turned down at a job interview, sit down, write something, some positive trait about yourself, and that will make you feel good. Remember, it's we are dealing with emotional hurt and how to heal from it. You can also soothe the hurt of rejection by reaching out to the people around you, the positive people who will inspire and encourage you to move on. Humans have a fundamental need to feel like they belong, and this is one of the reasons rejection can be difficult. To restore your sense of belonging, spend time with loved ones. This will help you feel more connected. We as human beings, we as human beings are social animals. We are social beings. So we need the networking and interconnection with each other. We need to connect with each other. No man is an island to his or herself. So if it's not possible to be around friends and family, taking in reminders like photos, messages, and mementos mementos will also do the trick. If families and loved ones are not around, take pictures and look through the pictures and memories that you've shared. That will also help. So remember, you are not alone. You are not alone. If you're going through emotional hurt, you are not alone. There is help out there, so reach out for the help. This is somebody helping another person by giving her water. So this is what I mean by human beings are social animals. We interact with each other. We need each other's help at any certain point in time. Talking to somebody will help relieve the emotional baggage, help weighing you down. Okay, like this person needs somebody to talk to boost her up. Even children also go through emotional hurt and they need us. Don't just reject them. When your children comes to you, I have two teenagers, 18 and 15. They come. My son, for instance, likes to hug. He will come. Sometimes we don't even talk or anything. We don't need to say anything, but he comes, he hugs me, we hug for some time, and then he goes back to his room. It's all, and afterwards I will ask him, I will ask him, is everything okay? How was school? And he said, oh, I just wanted to hug you. Everything is okay, right? So we all need it. We should be each other's keeper and encourager. We should encourage and keep each other going. Like if somebody is crying or something, you sit. Sometimes you don't need to talk. Just sit beside them. If they need you to be there, just be there and watch them. If they need a tissue, you offer it to them. You don't always need to talk, but your presence alone tells a lot. You don't need to be lonely. Thanks to internet and other technology in the 21st century, people are more connected than ever before. Thanks to the internet and various devices, friends and strangers are only a few clicks away. Like I'm in Canada and my mother is in Ghana, but I can just make video call and talk to her and see whatever is going on. So the world has become a global village. The world is now a global village. You don't really have to be physically present to feel the love and support from friends and loved ones. Yet, with all these ways to connect, many people are still incredibly lonely. This is because loneliness doesn't stem from a lack of connection, but from from feeling socially or emotionally isolated. Just think of someone with an endless list of contacts, but no close friends. So when it comes to emotional needs, people still feel lonely, even though they can connect with other people. So connectivity alone doesn't heal emotional needs. We need to do better than that. Unfortunately, the efforts of loneliness actually make it harder to break out of isolation. When people are lonely for extended periods of time, they feel hopeless and often expect the worst. So they make fewer attempts to reach. So sometimes when you haven't heard from someone for a while, please make the attempt to reach out to the person too. They may feel so lonely and hopeless, they wouldn't see the need to reach out to people. So if you don't hear from a loved one for a while, do the make the effort to reach out to them as well. And if they do happen to form relationships, they struggle to maintain them because their relationship skills are weak from lack of practice. You have to practice creating relationship with people too. So such people, when they have felt lonely for a long time, they don't have the skills to create meaningful relationship with people. So reach out to them and help out. So let me tell you that loneliness creates a vicious cycle, but it can be broken. It can be broken. The first step in treating loneliness is challenging the negative feelings it fosters. You can do this by imagining positive outcomes and giving people the benefits of the doubt. For example, instead of thinking that you won't know anyone at a party or that people won't want to speak to you, imagine meeting new, friendly people. The latter makes you more likely to accept an invitation. Your imagination of meeting new people will make you more likely to accept invitation when people invite you or when you go somewhere. I always tell my daughter, she used to say, Mom, since we moved, I don't have friends here. And I said, you have to be approachable too. If you stick to yourself, nobody will come to you. So you also have to open up to receive friends. She said, how do I start? I told her, you can start by saying hello to people, right? You can't just pass by people and go. You have to say hello to people too. That's how people will also be drawn to you. Now she has friends now. I'm like, take it easy, girl. So you have to also make the effort. Helplessness is another negative feeling that emerges from loneliness. And to overcome it, you have to take action. Reach out to people with whom you've had positive interactions in the past, or use online platforms to sign up for interesting activities. This will make you feel empowered to change your situation. After tackling negative perceptions and feelings, turn the spotlight on your behavior. Okay. So loneliness makes people unknowingly act in ways that push others away. Sometimes your behavior could be pushing others away as well. This include avoiding social events, giving curt answers during conversations, or focusing on your phone instead of engaging with people. When I'm talking to you and all I see is you focusing on your phone, I might get upset or think you are ignoring me. You don't need my company, so I will also leave you and leave you to your by yourself. No, but it looks rude and uncultured to begin with. So to identify what's holding you back, think about past social experiences and list three things you did that prevented you from interacting. If you went to a party or a function, whatever it is, try to think about something you did that prevented you from interacting with people. Your facial expression, were you affable or approachable? Think about something you did that prevented you from interacting with people. Keep this list in mind as a reminder of what not to do the next time you go out for a social gathering. So the last step in combating loneliness is exercising an important relationship muscle, which is empathizing with people and seeing things from their perspective. When you empathize with people, you see things from their perspective, not from your perspective. So you put yourself in their shoe while seeing things in their perspective. Doing this improves communication, problem solving, and compassion. These are all key ingredients for strong, meaningful relationships. Get this muscle working by imagining yourself in other people's shoes and making an effort to understand how they see and experience situations. So when you are empathetic, you don't become judgmental or put in your perspective. You just empathize or have compassion for the person by thinking if you were in the situation, thinking like you are the one in the situation, but knowing that it's them, right? It's them who is the person who is going through. So by putting yourself in their situation will make you more compassionate. When we think about loss or trauma, we usually imagine events like a life-changing accident or worse, death. These have an undeniably strong impact on our well-being, but they are not the only kinds of loss and trauma. On the less severe end of the scale, relationships end, we pack up and move to new places, or we lose jobs, right? Experiences like these can disrupt our lives and change how we see ourselves. And recovering from them is like repairing broken bones. The pieces have to be put back correctly in order for the bones to heal and eventually function like they used to be. So, reclaiming parts of ourselves and finding meaning help us piece our lives together after loss and trauma. One way loss and trauma affect us is by threatening the ways in which we identify ourselves. For example, someone who defines himself by his stellar career could suddenly lose his job, or following a divorce, a woman might avoid meaningful activities or friends because they are painful reminders of the loss. To recover our sense of identity, it's vital to reclaim the part of ourselves that we've lost. A good way to start is by listing the qualities and activities we value but haven't been able to engage with since the painful event. Then we should explore why we feel so disconnected from these and identify ways to reintroduce them into our lives. Tackling the easier steps first, we can then work our way through the list and gradually start living full lives again. In addition to challenging our identities, loss and trauma can also shake our core beliefs. For instance, believing that the world is generally fair and then going through something particularly unfair can make us question our understanding of the world. So, to handle such blows to our beliefs, we need to find meaning in the loss and trauma. This is a two-way step process. For instance, if a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer, you've gone through all the treatments and everything, and finally the person didn't make it after the suffering and everything, the person lost their battle to cancer. How do you find meaning in the loss? You can tell yourself the person is now at peace, resting, is now at peace with no pain, because seeing your loved one go through cancer treatment and how it affects, it changes the body and everything, and the pain, and eventually if they lose their battle after everything that was done, you can come to peace with yourself by saying, after all, my loved one is no longer suffering. Okay, so you can find peace or meaning in the loss. That's just an example. So we must make sense of things by asking why something happened instead of how. This encourages us to explore existential, spiritual, or philosophical answers that can help us make peace with the event, like the example I give. The second part of finding meaning is identifying something positive in the experience. Think of people who appreciate their families more after a tragedy, or create art to process their feelings. Silver linings like these can be comfortable after loss or trauma. Some people find it they find something positive after a tragic experience. Let's say if you like a family member, or let's say a mother or father who is work hard, provide everything for the family. Once something happens and they fall sick and things change, if that person had been taken for granted for so long, the family now see some meaningful or positive, their perspective change. They realize, oh my god, this person was, or this person is such an asset that we've been taken for granted. So when the tragedy is over, their perspective will change. Their perspective will change. They will no longer take the person for granted again. I don't want the video to be too long, so let me end it here, and then I will continue the series. Let me know in the comments if you are my Angie Talks families. Let me know if and you are enjoying the series, so I can continue from here. Remember, the page name is Angie Talks on Facebook and Angie Talks One TV on YouTube. Have a lovely day, everyone, wherever you may find yourself. This is Angelina, your 21st century virtual nurse. Bye for now.